Do you want to draw bottles like this for your digital artworks? Hi, I'm Nicisore. I'm a digital artist, and I want to show you, with this beginner-friendly tutorial on Ibispaint, how to draw different tiles of bottles like this. First of all, we need to find the type of bottle we want to draw and use it as our reference. Pinterest is a great place to look, but Google works just as well. All right, I'm talking too much. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing we want to do is open a new canvas and set the pixels to over 1,000 for better quality. Now choose the felt tip pen, soft or hard, and go to the settings to turn on the straight line and ruler options. Draw a straight line, then reset the settings. After that, put this layer on Alpha Lock. Now, what's Alpha Lock? Basically, it lets you paint only inside the parts you've already drawn on that same layer. Think of it like clipping a layer, but without adding a new one. Let me quickly show you an example so you can see how Alpha Lock works in action. I'll just add some color, and notice how it stays perfectly inside the shape we already drew. Now that we have this, we can finally start with the base colors. If you go up here in the settings, you can open the reference window, which is super useful to keep your inspiration right next to your canvas. All right, time for a super quick, light lesson. Don't worry, this isn't science class. Imagine a tiny sun shining on your bottle. Wherever that sun hits directly, that's going to be the brightest part of your bottle. Easy, right? By the way, here's the color palette I use for this part. Yep, it's just gray. Super exciting, right? Don't worry, it might look boring now, but once we blend it and add the highlights, it's going to shine. So first, I'm laying down all the base colors to decide where the light, the shadows, and the midtones will go. Now, the sides that are further away from the sun will be darker. Metal reflects light like a mirror, which is why the highlights are so strong. Smooth surfaces create small, sharp reflections, while matte areas scatter the light. No, I hate ads. Anyway, we only need the free ones right now, so let's skip that. Okay, back to business. Then I grab the blending tool. I'm adding a few more colors here and there to get it just right. Okay, and some blurring here and there. And then blend again. Okay, and now we're gonna use the transform tool, switch it to perspective, and shape it so it actually looks like a bottle lid. Yeah, that looks bad right now, but trust the process, okay? Okay. So for the second part, I'm going to show you a reel I did a while ago on this topic. It's a simple example, but it shows the basics of what we're going to do next.
How to draw cute bottles like this. First of all, make a line with this brush and do this. You can do this with many shapes. Now start applying grayish colors over your base color. In this case it's blue and bluish gray colors on top. Start blurring everything after one layer and then do the whole process again until it looks good. Now start adding details and shadows.
Here are some other examples.
Okay, done. Follow for part 2.
Don't ask what that was at the end. Sometimes you just have to feed the algorithm, you know? So yeah, don't judge me. So now we're going to draw the body of the bottle. We'll use the same method I showed in my fabulous reel, basically doing what we did with the bottle lid. But here, we're going soft, gentler colors that blend together like... God, how can anything be this annoying? And the lighting, a lot less dramatic. Since this surface isn't metallic like the lid, it's matte. So no crazy reflections here, just smooth, soft shading. Okay, wait, I'm blending as if my life depends on it for some reason. Anyway. And blend, blend, blend again. You can repeat this process more times, just don't use hard brushes at full opacity. Next, I'm adding a bit of red on one side and a touch of blue on the other side of the lid. This is to simulate an imaginary reflection of the room. It makes the bottle feel like it's actually in a space, not just floating in nothing. And before we finish, I'm adding a few more details and using the relief filter to make the reflections on the lid pop a bit more. Here, let me show you what I meant. It's like two objects that make the bottle reflect these colors. I'm also throwing in some extra shadows to give the bottle more depth. Yeah, I know, I'm such a smart reflection expert and stuff. Confident. So here we have our base example of a bottle. Now we're going to draw a more stylized version. First, duplicate the bottle body layer and paint the base color on it using Alpha Lock. Here are the brushes I'll be using for this part. Next, add a darker area from the middle to the bottom. This is where the liquid will be. Here you can see what we're going to draw now, the surface of the liquid. You can add some shadows here as well. I changed the background here because we need more colors now to create decent looking reflections. Okay, let me give you a quick tutorial on how to use this. You just duplicate the layer, go to transform, the perspective form, and you can move their layer. Now we're going to duplicate this layer again, go to transform, switch to perspective, and squash it a bit. This makes the top layer fit like liquid inside the bottle. It looks like the bottle is actually filled. Now fill the upper layer with the color you want for your liquid. Just pick whatever looks good. It's your bottle, your rules. Okay, it's time to use the lasso tool. Take note, here is everything explained. There are these three options right where you click on the tool. The first one moves the selected area. The second one inverts your selection, so you move everything which was not in the lasso. And the third one deletes the lasso. Now we're just going to draw inside the selected area to make the surface of the liquid look more realistic. Use lighter shades of your base color, or even a complementary color for some extra details, and then blend everything out. Once that's done, remove the lasso selection and add some shadows along the sides and blur them out as well. Now we are going to draw the bottom of the bottle. Start by selecting the ellipse tool and make a shape with a light color. Next, do the same with a darker shade of your liquid color and blend everything out. Then repeat this step at the top of the bottle, just reversed. Okay, it's finally time for my favorite part, rendering. Select the lasso tool and outline where your highlights are going to be. These spots are basically where the light hits the surface most directly, so the material reflects the strongest there. Think of them as the bottle's little bling points. The shinier the material, the sharper and brighter these highlights will look. Now, remove the lasso selection and go over those spots with a very light color. I'm choosing blue because my object is in a blue background. Then just repeat the 4 steps. Highlight, blend, erase, edit, clean, and repeat. Okay, now we're going to render the rest of the bottle, the part without the liquid. For this, pick a color that matches or resembles your background and lightly shade it in. Then grab a darker color and do the same on the side that isn't facing the light directly. Well, the next part isn't mandatory, but if you want to add some cool details, try this. Draw little shapes with a dark color wherever you want droplets to be. This way, the bottle feels grounded in its environment instead of just floating, and you get that nice contrast between light and shadow. Then, go to the filters and use the water drop filter. Play around with the settings until it looks just right. The cool thing is, this instantly gives your bottle that fresh, dewy look. Now it's time to squash the bottle lid again, this time for a more detailed version. Start the same way we've been doing. Put the layer on alpha lock. On one side, add harsh, darker tones, and on the other side, softer, lighter shades of your base color. Blend them out and repeat the process until it looks polished. This is because the material I want to recreate isn't as reflective as the other ones. Next, squash this new lid shape even more than before and stack it on top of the first one. Erase the corners to refine the shape, then grab the liquify tool to smooth everything out and make it look clean and natural. Okay, one last time. We're going to repeat the same line and shading process, but with a small twist. Go to Filters, the Relief, and adjust it so one side is really dark and sharp, while the other is almost white. Okay, one last thing. Draw a light curve for the last piece. Apply the relief filter again and connect it with the rest of the bottle. Paint over any extra shadows that don't fit. Adjust the size until it fits with the other parts. Now pick your shadow color and add shading to this new part. Erase what you don't need, then blur everything slightly with the filter for a softer finish. To draw the hole, use the same shadow color, then go over part of it with a lighter tone to show the light hitting inside. And that's it, the bottle is finished. Of course, you can always add extra details like lettering, reflections, or even the little straw inside. Another fun detail is adding bubbles, but I don't have any specific way to tell you how. And that's basically how it works. But hey, that's why we have references, right? For the tube, just draw a line and throw on the water drop filter, or simply render it using the background colors. Easy fix. Now, let's jump into a little speed paint with some more examples to inspire you. All of these are from an older painting of mine. I should have mentioned earlier that this tutorial is more about bottles you'd place in the background of your artworks, not the main focus. That's why they aren't insanely detailed. What I showed you today is just one out of many possible shapes. The coolest part about digital art is that you can fully render something once and then move it around like puzzle pieces, super flexible. And no, serious, don't ever let anyone tell you that using references or skipping the traditional linear process is cheating. It's not, it's just being smart about how you create. Drop a comment if you tried this out. I'd love to see your artworks. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more beginner-friendly art tutorials. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it helped and gave you some ideas. Can't wait to see what you create with it.